weekend, a very happy head coach, Alvin Gentry, had his own Looney Tunes reference. Enjoy.
That's a haul, folks.
That's a haul, folks. Do you believe that they are as... if you're them, are you giddy that you got all this done? But how much of there is like, revenge is a dish best served cold against AD?
All of that. And here's the thing. You're allowed to stick out your chest and hold your head up high when you get Zion. That's just the bottom line. Because if they didn't get Zion, they wouldn't be as confident moving forward.
Well,
That's just how it works.
All the things that have happened would not have happened, right? The ping pong balls are so incredibly significant. That changed the entire scope of the NBA right now.
And it changed it for the Lakers because they probably wouldn't have had the access to get it done. And obviously for the Pelicans,
getting the
number
fourth
one
pick.
spot.
That's right. You like them taking a shot back at AD?
Hell yeah. And where is the Pelicans? Louisiana, man.
That's
the boot.
That's right.
Let's go.
And with that, we welcome you to another hour of Get Up. As always, live from above the Heineken River Deck at Piers 17. And here we go. We get up this morning with the biggest stars in sports. T-minus 6 days and counting till these free agents reshape the future of the NBA. And we're all over it. Plus, believe it or not, the NBA awards will finally be announced tonight. Who will win? Who should win? Can anyone explain why we waited so long to do this? And the NFL taking steps to make sure this never happens again. Did they get it right, or does the new rule go too far? Answers to those and other questions. Let's get up, starting right now. Jalen is here. Swagoo is here. Jeff Passan is here. NBA free agency is less than a week away.
You got to be nicer to Jeff, Greeny.
Well, Jeff is fine.
No.
Meanwhile, let's talk about Kawhi. Kawhi will hit the market after becoming the third player to win Finals MVP with two different teams. Kareem did it, LeBron did it, now Kawhi has done it. Where's he going to go? Where's that guy going to go? That's Kyrie Irving, expected to leave the Celtics after 2 years in Boston. Last year, he set career highs in rebounds and assists while averaging almost 24 points per game. But we all saw the downside as well. Klay Thompson, one of the best two-way players in the NBA. In addition to great defense, no player has made more corner threes over the last 5 years than he has. Overwhelming expectation is that he stays where he is in Golden State, but not so with his teammate, perhaps soon-to-be former teammate, Kevin Durant, who could opt out of his deal. His streak of 11 straight seasons, averaging 25 points a game, likely to win no matter what, assuming he misses all of next season with that torn Achilles. So which teams have the money to sign these guys? The Knicks, the Nets, the Clippers, as you see, all this according to our Bobby Marks, have the most money. In total, 9 different teams have at least $20 million to spend in free agency. And again, they're doing what they can in LA. Not the Clippers organization, but someone put these billboards up in Los Angeles. Remember, Kawhi is a Southern California kid. The big question has been, will he go back home and sign with the Clippers, or will he stay north of the border in Toronto where they won the championship? So again, we're going to be here getting ready for this all week long. And next week we have our afternoon specials. We will be covering free agency for you from top to bottom here on Get Up. And so let's start with a primer on the players who are going to be available this summer. Jalen, I want you to break this down because you've broken it into tiers.
Yes.
So the top tier is what? The guys who can be the best player on a championship team, right?
Correct. And we're going to talk so much about free agency, but who are the guys that are like, when you sign them, you're automatic contender, and they're going to lead you to the championship?
How many of these guys?
It's only 2 of those guys. Kevin Durant and Kawhi Leonard. Just think about what the Raptors did. They traded for Kawhi Leonard in the final year of his contract and won the championship with him. Do you realize how that's about to change the game moving forward for general managers? You can't play it safe. And for KD, back-to-back finals MVPs before Kawhi was able to achieve that this season. Those are the 2 guys, when you sign them, it becomes championship or bust.
I don't know that anyone could possibly disagree with that. Obviously, the injury factor with KD complicates it to at least some degree, right? Because if you're signing him, you're looking at least a year into the future. And more significantly, how much concern would you have that he is never the same again coming? I hate even saying that out loud.
Correct.
But how much concern would you have that he does not come back to what he was?
I wouldn't have much concern based on modern-day medicine. And look at his teammate, DeMarcus Cousins, who's 50 pounds heavier than him, came back and played this year and didn't have any problems with his Achilles.
But he got hurt, not the Achilles, but he got hurt again in the playoffs.
Correct. But what I'm saying is a heavier player didn't necessarily rely on explosiveness. KD relies on skill and getting buckets. He's a slender player. I have no concerns with him returning from that injury.
So that's tier 1. Who are the guys on tier 2?
Tier 2, these are all NBA caliber players, Swagoo. You get these guys and you pair them with somebody like in Tier 1, then all of a sudden they become a dynamic performer. These guys are Kyrie Irving still. I know that people are still throwing salt on his name based on what happened with the Boston Celtics. However, I did see this guy shoot down the Golden State Warriors and Steph Curry a couple of years ago. He has that level of ability. Klay Thompson falls into this category, a lockdown defender who can also make shots. Kemba Walker, who's getting overlooked in this free agency dynamic. And by the way, Kemba, don't take less money to stay in Charlotte. Don't do that.
No.
Please don't do that. And lastly, Jimmy Butler. When he went to the Philadelphia 76ers, he showed flashes of that, what I saw in Chicago and what I saw in Minnesota, but it wasn't consistent. I think if he decides to stay in Philly or go to somewhere else, he's going to be able to do that consistently.
Swag, who follows all this stuff as closely as anyone I know, do you want Kyrie Irving on your team? Based on all the stuff you've seen, are you willing to hand him the keys and say, all right, Kyrie, you're my guy, we're following you wherever you lead?
No, I'm not putting him in the leadership.
That's what it looks like Brooklyn is very seriously considering doing.
Listen, if you are, first of all, I don't think, when we look at the two guys that Jalen just listed and we look at the NBA in general, right? Giannis had his team in contention. Giannis 6'11". LeBron 6'8". We look at what KD has done. We look at what all of these guys that we're talking about that are franchise-changing guys, they are technically out of their mind ability guys, right? Kyrie has a skill set and a talent that no one else has, but he's not going to take you from a good team to a championship.
I want to skip all the way to the wild card players because we're running short on time here. And I want to make sure you get these two names in because they're not names people are talking about, but I think they're both fascinating. Wild cards in all of this.
Wild cards, first and foremost, Kristaps Porzingis. So many people talking about the Knicks trading him because they didn't want to give him a long-term deal, and he told the brass that he didn't want to be there. The Mavs didn't look like they wanted to step up and give him that long-term deal just yet either. He's actually going to be a free agent, and he's going to be one of a handful of players next year when you look down at a box score, averaging 20 points and getting you 2 blocks. The other one, DeMarcus Cousins, second year removed from an Achilles injury, playing with the Golden State Warriors. Is he going to return to play with them with a 15% increase? Or is he going to go somewhere else where they're going to, in my opinion, try to lowball him some? Say 2 years, 20 with the team option for the second year. If that's the case, you stay in Golden State. Without Klay, without KD, watch how Draymond Green and DeMarcus Cousins blow up numbers-wise for the Golden State Warriors.
Listen, if DeMarcus Cousins is healthy, and that's a big if, you forget just how ridiculously productive he was and could potentially still be. Oh, by the way, tonight they will announce all of the NBA regular season awards. It's hard to believe, but tonight we will find out who last year's MVP was. We'll find out who the Rookie of the Year was. To your point, they've already drafted all of next year's rookies. These are the finalists for the MVP award this past season. Giannis, Paul George.
Paul George.
But we haven't seen Paul. I don't even remember what Paul George looks like anymore. James Harden. These are all the things that have happened since the NBA regular season ended.
Here.
Tiger Woods won the Masters.
Wow.
We've had 2 other majors since then. The last time we saw these guys play the regular season, that was before Tiger won the Masters. Christian Yelich has hit 24 home runs. All 4 major sports leagues have conducted their drafts.
Wow.
1,748 players have learned their pro destinations since they did this. Now, look, I understand the NBA they're brilliant. The people running the NBA are not smart. They're brilliant. I understand what they're doing. They want to own this week as well, right? They own the playoffs. They own the whole run up through June. Then they get the draft. Then they get the awards tonight. Then they get free agency next week. But at some point, I believe someone needs to look at this and say, it sounds ridiculous to announce the MVP and all those awards this far after the season.
I agree with you because here's what happens. When the awards get announced tonight, it now slaps in the face all of the credibility of people that voted because people don't remember what happened in the regular season, and that's when these people are being rewarded for what they did during that 82 games. This time last year, Dwayne Casey won Coach of the Year, okay? He was fired standing on the stage.
Yeah, he had already been fired.
Receiving the award.
Correct.
Okay, you just talked about 4 major sports having drafts. We know Zion is in the league, but we don't know who last year's Rookie of the Year is. Like, these are the things that you got to clean up.
So if they want to have a night, I get it. They used to just give the MVP award to a guy in the playoffs. You know, before one of his home playoff games, they would go out and hand him the trophy and people would cheer. They want to have a night. They want to make an event out of it. And I get that. The NFL does it very well. When should they do that? When could they do it?
I think you could still have a celebration of this year's season with different type of awards and superlatives and things like that, but not necessarily these awards because they seem so very dated.
What do you think?
I wouldn't necessarily. I don't have a problem with the timing of it because it's almost like the NBA has done a better job than anybody capturing a full calendar year. Right? You think about it. You think about the storylines that come out of the NBA. Like, there's a method to this madness of prolonging a lot of things in the NBA. I like the awards being right now.
Can I throw something into this conversation that's going to completely throw a different tune to it? Basketball is the only sport amongst the three. I can't necessarily speak to the NHL as directly, but between baseball and football, it makes sense to have the MVP be a regular season award because the regular season is so substantive.
Correct.
And not every team makes the playoffs. In basketball, where basically every half-decent team makes the playoffs and the postseason is so long and so much more meaningful, I believe they should actually give the MVP and all the awards after it is all over. I think it should factor in. It should factor in to who wins the awards. Why are you crying on me, Jalen?
Because you make the regular season meaningless.
They've made the regular season meaningless. Don't look at me. They're resting and they're tanking.
I know.
I'm trying to give the awards to the players who actually are the best players.
But if you want to reward players for the journey, that happens during the 82-game regular season.
Does it?
Yes.
It's ended 2.5 months ago.
But because
the postseason's a journey too.
Because here, by your definition, what's going to end up happening is the Finals MVP shouldn't necessarily be the regular season MVP every year, and that's what you're going to end up with. So let me give you a better example.
Go ahead.
Andre Iguodala won Finals MVP a couple of years ago.
Right.
He shouldn't have won league MVP.
No, no one is arguing that he should have, and he wouldn't have that year. But this year, you could argue that Kawhi Leonard was the most valuable player in basketball because he came there and won a championship. He's not even a finalist because he sat out 22 games during the regular season.
But you're rewarding him after the fact when you look at play. They have two awards. They have the regular season award
right now, G.
Right. But when we go back, look, I understand you'd be rewriting history, and this is another example of, once again, my genius will not be fully appreciated until after my time. But I'm giving the award to the person who's actually the most important person, the one who won the championship.
No, it's okay to have a regular season award and a playoff award. You acting like a playoff award doesn't exist. It's called Finals MVP.
It's just Finals MVP, yes. Go ahead. Tell him he's wrong.
Gee, no, you're wrong. Because look, there's two parts to the NBA.
Yeah.
Like you have to give that validity, right? We look at Tom Brady, who would have been the MVP of the playoffs,
right?
And Pat Mahomes would have been the MVP of the regular season.
Yeah, but the regular season is so much more substantive in football.
It's substantive so much more in basketball because Houston Rockets ain't in the playoffs without James Harden balling like that, or Giannis team not in the playoffs without him balling in the regular season. You got to give